think about boundaries, I mean, do you believe in setting boundaries or just letting things just flow freely, whichever way they choose, however they choose, whenever they choose, wherever they choose? I had that same question a few years ago. Today I'll be sharing my thoughts on boundaries. See you in a bit. Boundaries. Setting boundaries. The first time I heard about setting boundaries a few years ago, I asked myself, why? Why? I mean, why can't you just let things be as they want to be? Before long, I began to see and appreciate the importance of setting boundaries. A simple example is the clock. The clock tells us what time it is, and knowing what time it is gives us a guide as to what to do at what time. Imagine if we didn't use the boundaries of time to decide what we're doing, when and where and with whom. We'll be so stretched and stressed, you won't even know if you're going or coming. It will just be like everything's happening all at once. So that brings us to the quip for today, quip 44, which says, setting boundaries help you keep your priorities on track. Setting boundaries help you keep your priorities on track. When you don't set boundaries, with all the competing priorities around us, you won't know what you're accomplishing or what you're not accomplishing. There's so many things we all want to do. As if that's not enough, there are many things other people also want us to do. So if you don't set the right boundaries, you may not achieve the things you need to achieve, whether or not they are priorities. And then you may not even achieve the things that are priorities. I remember reading on someone's desk, and I have continued to repeat it, now and again, that your lack of planning doesn't make it my emergency. Your lack of planning doesn't make it my emergency, which is why boundaries are important. Because if you don't have your boundaries, other people's priorities will overrun your priorities, and you'll now be wondering, okay, what am I doing now? Who for? Why? And things like that. Boundaries don't need to be barriers. They don't necessarily need to stop things. I feel that boundaries can be bridges that would help you get from one point to the other so that you achieve whatever your priorities are. An example of a boundary could be to say, I think about work and I leave work at work. Whether or not you're working from home, because in this COVID era, a lot of people are working from home. But even then, it's almost like compartmentalizing work, such that when you're with your family, you are with them, not just in body, but in spirit, mind as well. Leaving work at work helps you free up your mind so that when you're spending time with your family, it's not just quality time, it's also quantity time, because quantity also matters. I started off this video by telling you about how the first time I heard about setting of boundaries, I was like, why? Well, why should I bother? But I have learned over time that setting boundaries is an important part of time and resource management. If you don't value your time and manage it, it means that you're opening yourself up to people mismanaging your time and hopefully not, but possibly even damaging your life, because you'd find out that you're doing everything else except things you feel that you really, really need to do, things that are important to you, things that are priorities, and you live a dissatisfied life. I'm not saying don't do things for others. I'm just saying prioritize and have the right boundaries. Henry Cloud said, boundaries are basically about providing structure, and structure is essential in building anything that thrives. Structure is important in building anything that thrives. If you don't set the right boundaries, your priorities will not survive, let alone thrive. Don't forget that. Your priorities need to survive before they can even thrive. Until we see again next week, I wish you a very, very great week and weekend, and enjoy November. We're right in it. Bye now.